to the 2020 Butler County Fair Rabbit Show. Today we will be starting with our first class, which is Little Clovers, and our contestant or exhibitor is Joshua Brinkman. Joshua Brinkman received a green ribbon for his Little Clover exhibit. Our next class is the Holland Lop, Junior Buck. Alexis Brinkman and Erica Brinkman are in this class. The results of the Fancy Rabbits Holland Lop Junior Buck: first place, Erica Brinkman; second place, Alexis Brinkman. Up next is the Fancy Rabbits Holland Lop Junior Doe. Again, our participants are Alexis Brinkman and Erica Brinkman. Our judge today is Eric Mickdorf from Denver, Iowa. He is a member of the American Rabbit Breeders Association. He has been a member for the past 20 years, and he has been judging rabbits for the past 30 years.
Right, yep. Okay, Holland Lop Junior Doe class we have up here currently. We did our junior buck class, so we had a couple there, and I kept my winner up here for that class. We had a late developer, we'll put it that way, for our junior doe class because it turned into a buck. And they don't usually do that, but they're very hard to distinguish when they are younger, so the sexes sometimes as they do mature and get a little older and easier to distinguish. So we would have had, 3 bucks in our junior buck class. But it was going to be receiving a red today. Basically, according to the standard of perfection, it runs a little bit longer in its body shape and style. It does carry nice round curvature through the head and the muzzle, but because it's a little bit flat right to the top of the head where that crown develops, that'll help with that ear carriage, and it's still got a little bit too much ear carriage, carrying them vertical rather than lopping down to the side of the head like it should. The one that's winning the class is a very nice little junior doe. She's already got very nice shape and body style to her, nice short compact body, very nice and correct through her head shape. Ears are just a little bit on the thin side in substance, but that'll thicken up as she gets some more age to her. But they have a nice shape to them. They're the right length, right below her jawline area. So she was going to be hard to beat anyway. So, but next time you'll remember, he'll show us a junior buck.
The results of our Fancy Rabbits Holland Lop Junior Doe: first place was Erica Brinkman, second place was Alexis Brinkman. Please bring the following exhibits forward for judging. Fancy Rabbits Holland Lop Senior Doe. Our exhibitors are Alexis Brinkman, Alexis Brinkman, Alexis Brinkman, Erica Brinkman, Erica Brinkman, and Emma Wedeking.
other red will be on the opposite end. And our blues will be right here in the middle. Okay, very nice class of senior does we have up here. Just receiving a couple reds in the class. One was over the 4-pound maximum senior weight by about a half a pound. One nice thing about having a little bit bigger does anyway is they make good brood does rather than the smaller, more refined senior does that have maybe a little more trouble giving birth or nursing through a full litter. So big does, if bred to a nice small typey buck, is very good to still use as a breeding animal because she does have some good characteristics. She's got a nice curvature to her head. She carries some nice thick bone through her chest and her front leg area, but she's just a little heavy and a little bit long, but can still be used as a nice brood doe. Same with our other red finisher down here on this end. She's a little bit longer bodied doe and just a little looser through her flesh condition. She doesn't have the head and the ears that the rest of the class has. She has a little more shorter, more standing erect type ear rather than lopping more down to the side of the face that you like to see. The 4 that are receiving blues are very comparable, would do even quite well at against other competition, whether it be at State Fair or even an ARBA show. This will be our 4th place blue here. And she too has a little bit too much ear control. She does have the proper length of body, but she's just a little narrower. You like to see a little more width up through the shoulder area, but she does have the nice length to the body, nice curvature to her head, just a little more control to her ear. And a nice 3rd place on our broken doe here, and broken color pattern. Actually, there's nothing else broken about her. It's just talking about her color pattern there. And she carries a little bit more correctness through her head and her ears. Nice curvature on her. She also carries nice bone, but she is a little longer in her shoulders. She isn't quite as short and compact as the 1st and 2nd place animals. And the 2nd place one is a very nice animal, just lacks a little bit of flesh condition. She's just a little thinner over her spine area and her tailbone, and she doesn't have quite the slickness to the coat. Holland Lops don't carry a lot of points on color and fur, but when you got a nice 1st place one that really has all the complete package together, body type, head, ears, that's going to go to our 1st place doe right here. Very nice crown width to her, nice muscling. She's got nice flesh condition and a nice coat of fur on her.
Receiving 1st place in our Holland Lop Senior Doe was Alexis Brinkman. 2nd place went to Erica Brinkman. 3rd place went to Erica Brinkman. 4th place went to Alexis Brinkman. And receiving red ribbons was Alexis Brinkman and Emma Wetta King. Next up is our fancy rabbit class of Holland Lop Senior Bucks. Alexis Brinkman, Erica Brinkman, and Erica Brinkman.
this will be our second place blue, and this will be our first place blue. Okay, nice grouping of senior bucks we have up here. Again, we're looking for that small, compact body shape and style. A nice senior buck is just like, you know, the best bull you can find, the best ram, the best boar that can really breed to a number of different does and really pass on those Holland Lop qualities that you want. And we have a really nice blue finishers up here that are going to be getting first and second. But our third place guy, he's just a little bit longer. Again, in his body and his shoulders, he's a little more thinner, slightly folded through his ear rather than having a nice wide open ear, and it doesn't hang nice and close to those cheeks like it's more airplaned out and horizontal rather than hugging his face that you like to see. And he's just a little more hollower in his flesh condition over the top of the hip. And we have a nice chocolate buck that's going to be our second place in this class. He just runs a little bit longer in his shoulder area compared to our first place animal. He carries a nice wide muzzle, a nice crown, nice width to his ear, and then the right length. Again, just nice and even with that jawline area. But because he was just a little slightly longer in body, he does carry a little bit better finish of coat and coloration to him. But again, with the Holland Lop standard doesn't award that many points towards the coat and the color. It's a lot of points on that head and ears and body shape and body style. So that gives us our first place buck right here because he carries a nice width and bone carried through his chest and foreleg. He's got the good positioning on the ears and shape to the ears, very nice roundness and curvature and width to the muzzle on his head. And he's got a fairly nice coat. He's just slipping slightly right now on his coat, but again, it can't fault him too much according to their standards. So this will be our first place buck here.
Results of our Holland Lop Senior Buck class. First place was Erica Brinkman. Second place was Alexis Brinkman. And third place was Erica Brinkman. We will now be choosing our best of breed and our best opposite in the Holland Lop class. As the judge is working, if the best of breed happens to be a female, then the best opposite has to be a male. Or if the best of breed is a male, then the best opposite has to be a female.
Okay, nice grouping overall with a nice showing of Holland Lops up here. Some very nice competitive animals up here, some very nice up-and-coming juniors. They just have a little more filling in on the width of bodies that our seniors have, and I saw their dad up here just a little while ago, so if they fill in just like their daddy is, they're going to have some really nice animals here coming up for the future shows as well. But we have to judge them for today, this moment, and our best of breed is going to go to our top senior doe, and our best of the opposite sex in the Holland Lops is going to go to our senior buck. Congratulations.
Our best of breed winner was Alexis Brinkman. Our best opposite was Erica Brinkman. We are now ready for our fancy class mini lop senior buck. We will have Mackenzie Boach and Mackenzie Boach. Okay.
And a senior buck. So there's one and one. Yep.
Okay.
And they said these are the only two there was.
Yep.
So okay, with our mini lops, we started with the Holland lops. These are a miniature version closer to their French lop cousins, about half of the size, with a top weight of only 6 to 6.5 pounds. We're going to give them both blue ribbons today. We did end up with a senior buck and a senior doe. And I noticed as she brought them to the table how the one had a little bit more distinct honking to her. And I thought, well, this sounds like a doe that maybe wants to be bred. And sure enough, it is. So we found that out today. So a very nice senior buck, very close to the standard that you're looking for. Nice roundness and length of body. He carries a fairly nice coat of fur on him. He's just changing a little bit of color on his hips. And our senior doe runs just a little longer in her shoulder, but she carries a nice roundness and massiveness through the hip and the hind quarter, and also has a nice adequate curvature to her head, nice length to her ear. So of our two mini lops, this was our entire mini lop exhibit today. The senior buck is going to be our best of breed, and the senior doe will be our best opposite sex.
The results of our mini lop senior buck class happens to also have a female, so we have Mackenzie Boach as the best of breed and Mackenzie Boach as the best opposite. Our next class is our Fancy Rabbits Rex senior bucks. That would be Carter Fost, Lydia Kluter, and Lily Sterling.
Okay, we start with the Rex breed up here. Nice class of senior bucks. Here again, you're looking for the best possible buck to breed in and use as a herd buck that will best represent the breed as a whole. We mentioned at the beginning of the show how we didn't have a commercial or grade rabbits this year, and this is the closest thing as far as body shape that you're going to come to your commercial animals, and that they should carry the length of body, the nice deep hindquarters, nice width through the midsection, and fullness to that loin and hip that carries all that meat-carrying properties. But what makes the Rex unique as compared to your New Zealanders and Californians is their fur and that Rex shortness, plushness, really dense, really nice textured coat that makes them very unique in the rabbit world. So we got some very nice examples here. Of course, it's always impossible to try to predict what your coats and what your flesh condition is going to feel like come fair time from once your entry deadline passes. But we still have some that are just starting to slip coats slightly, but all very deserving of getting blue ribbons today. The fifth place one is going to be our white down here on this end. It just lacks just a little more commercial properties in its body style, but it's got a very nice start on the coat and the cleanliness of the coat, the texture of the coat that's coming in on it. Our fourth place one is going to go to our other white here, and it too just lacks a little bit of fullness to that hip and the hind quarter. It's what they call pitted in the coat, where it's just a little uneven in the length and the surface length of the coat, but it's nice and dense. And the way you check that is blow into the coat. If you don't see any skin and you see nothing but hair follicles, that's very nice density on your coat, which this rabbit exhibits today. The third place one is going to go to our otter here, otter variety animal. And it too just lacks a little bit in the commercial. It doesn't have quite the depth over that hip and hind quarter that the first, second place animals have. But it does have, again, a very nice start on the coat and the coloration on them, because you got a lot more color points and fur points on this breed than we did compared to the Holland and the Midlaps that we had up here earlier. But a very nice young animal, also worth hanging on to and see as it develops. And then another younger animal, I'm sure, as it feels to the touch. This will be our second place one here on our broken black. And it just doesn't carry the massiveness and fullness to the hip as a very nice, strong first place buck. He's very nicely muscled up through his shoulders and hip and hindquarters. Not prime in his coat. Actually, the second and third place ones maybe had a little overall balance to the coat, but it's still got the density, still got some texture. It's just a little uneven in length here and there around the shoulder area, but nice, strong buck to start the Rex class here.
The results of our Fancy Rabbits Rex Senior Buck class: first place, Carter Fost; second place, Carter Fost; third place, Lydia Kluter; fourth place, Lily Sterling; fifth place, Lydia Kluter. Our next class is Fancy Rabbits Rex Senior Doe. Our exhibitors are Lydia Kluter, Lily Sterling, Lily Sterling.
Okay, another very nice competitive class we have in our senior does we have up here. I mentioned to the exhibitors if they left the building and came back and I'd switch the rabbits around, would they be able to tell which one was theirs? That's how close in body shape and body style all these animals are. So really had to do a lot of nitpicking, went a lot on feel of the animal with a nice prime coat with the Rex coats being so short as you pat it rather than stroking it because there isn't all that guard hair to fly back into position. As you pat it, is there any resistance? Does it kind of feel like a sponge or a spring and have some resistance to that coat? Because that's the ideal density that you want on your animals. We're going to go all blue ribbons, and this is going to be our 4th place animal here. And she just lacks a little bit into her shoulder development, and a little bit through her loin and her hip. She did have a nice coat. It's just slipping a little bit more than the other ones right now, and it's just a little more uneven. Right above her tail, carried in through her chest and around her dewlap area. And our 3rd place one in a blue is going to be this doe here, and she just lacked a little depth of body. She wants to peak her high point just a little bit too far forward rather than more centered over her loin and top of her hip. She's just a little closer, more towards the middle of her back area. She carries a little more evenness on the length to her coat, but she's a little thinner on the density to her coat than what our other two are. The 2nd place doe is the one here on this end, who is now giving herself a quick brush up here. And she just lacked a little density also and a little bit of texture to her coat, but she carries that nice commercial body shape and style. She is maybe just a little softer up into her condition. She's just getting a little more flabbier up through her chest and dewlap area, but a nice strong boned animal and a nice roundness through her hip, but just lacked a little bit of coat to our winner, who is our doe down here on this end of the table. And she is just slightly getting a few guard hairs starting to pop out on that coat, but it's still got a lot of nice resistance to it, good density, nice texture, and a nice strong bodied doe to win this class. Very nice grouping.
The results of our fancy rabbits, Rex Senior Doe. 1st place was Lydia Kluter. 2nd place was Lily Sterling. 3rd place was Lydia Kluter. 4th place was Lily Sterling. Our next class is Fancy Rabbits Rex Junior Buck. Those participants are Lydia Kluter.
Okay, two nice promising junior bucks up here. Here again, you want to get a nice idea in your mind if something would happen to your senior buck, say the father to these, what comes comparable and would best help to improve your herd and keep that bloodline going as strong as possible. So as much a carbon copy as your senior bucks as you can get. Our second place buck is going to be this guy here on the end, and he just lacks a little body development yet. He's just a tad bit flatter up over the top of the hip to the first place guy, and he's just a little bit more babyish yet on his sides of his coat. Nice new coat, really starting to come in over his shoulders and back now. But this first place guy, he's got much more density. He's got more of the commercial type body. He's stronger through his midsection and roundness through his hip and fullness through his lower hip. He's also a little more advanced over the top of the back. Also on the texture of his coat, he just has just a little bit of baby coat on those very lower flanks and up through his chest area, but very nice, promising prospect here.
The results of our Fancy Rabbits Rex Junior Bucks. First place was Lydia Kluter. Second place was Lydia Kluter. Would the following exhibitors come with their Fancy Rabbits Rex Junior Doe? Lydia Kluter, and Lydia Kluter.
Okay, nice prospects again in our junior Doe class up here. All going to be receiving blues today, and actually they're right in order, as I like them. Third place one is just lacks a little bit of commercial body type and development yet. She too just had a little high point a little too far forward, which makes her just a little more hollow through her loin, but she does have the nice full lower hindquarters. She's also just a little slipping a little bit more in her coat right now with a little more protruding guard hairs, and usually when that happens it ends up feeling a little more harsh or a little more coarse in its texture, but it's just because it's in between developing, getting rid of that baby coat and coming in with a nice new adult coat. We got a little bit better bodied animal for our second place animal, also a little more progressed in her coat, but she does lack a little fullness in that hind quarter and a little bit of development up in the width of her shoulder compared to the first place doe. It's a very, very nice, promising doe, and she also carries the most evenness of the coat development for the junior doe class, and just a very nice, well balanced animal.
First place was Lydia Kluter, second place was Lydia Kluter, and third place was Lydia Kluter. We will now be picking the Rex Best of Breed and Best Opposite.
Okay, very nice grouping of Rex. Again, very competitive animals who did quite well at an ARBA show, which I know both of these exhibitors have showed those in the past. So some very nice quality here at the local county fair. Our best of breed in the Rex breed is going to go to our senior buck. And our opposite sex is going to go to a very nice, promising little junior doe. Congratulations.
The best of breed goes to Carter Faust. The best opposite goes to Lydia Kluter. We are now ready for our other fancy breeds, senior buck, Emma Wedeking.
Okay, of our other fancy breeds up here, our senior buck is a Jersey Woolly, and of the various animals that do carry the wool type properties in our standard of perfection, these are the smallest, very comparable to a little bit larger than the Netherland dwarf, but they also carry a lot of properties that the dwarfs exhibit because that was one of the breeds used to develop the Jersey Woolly. So they should carry that nice roundness to the head, the short thickness to the ear, have some nice bone. They can be closer to that 3 to 3.5 pound range where your dwarfs you want much smaller. But that unique wool property that the Jersey Woolly carries, they also have the most texture, more so than some of your other textured Angoras that carry a little bit more points on the density properties rather than the texture. But these guys carry a little bit more guard hair, makes them a little bit more easier to groom and keep the shavings and sawdust and stuff like that repelled out of the coat that way. So a very nice example here. He carries very nice body type. He's got nice roundness to that head, a nice bold eye to him. He's got the shortness and the thickness to his ear. He's the right length of body. He's just as wide through that shoulders and hip area, so he's very nice and muscular throughout on that body. He's just a tad bit softer on his surface coat, but he's got some nice newer coat actually on his sides that carries the guard hair and protection. So just a little softer up over his top, but again, a very nice example for a Jersey Woolly, and he'd do quite well against some other competition.
The winner of our other is Emma Wedeking. She is also the best of breed for her class. Our next class is Other Fancy Breeds Junior Buck, William Dykey. And this breed is a Dutch.
And that's our only? Yeah. Okay. Okay, our junior buck, we got a nice black Dutch junior buck here. One of those breeds in the standard that has a lot of points on markings, along with English spots, Harlequins, and some of the other breeds. And a very challenging breed. You get a lot of mismarks in the litters. They come in the 7 different varieties. I have the standard memorized in my head because I've had them for 50 years. That's why I have them on my hat. And probably started raising them when I was about as tall as this table right here. So a breed that I've had for years and years and years, know him like the back of my hand, and very nice youngster coming up here. He's got a nicely balanced roundness to those cheeks, right above his whisker bed area. He's got the proper body type that you're looking for. He's nice and straight and correct through his saddle marking and carries that correctness through his undercut, and fairly nicely matched up through his stops on the back feet, and got a very nice rich black color to him as well. So again, I wish we had more junior bucks here for competition. He would have done quite well against some other competition as well. So nice Dutch.
The winner of our other fancy junior buck is William Dykey with his Dutch. Will all exhibitors who received a best of breed please come up to the table with their rabbit? We will be choosing our champion fancy and our reserve champion fancy. Those people are Alexis Brinkman, Mackenzie Boach, Carter Fost, Emma Wedeking, and William Dykey.
So our best in reserve fancier is also going to be best in reserve of the show, won't it? Because we didn't have any commercial or anything, so. They'll get best in show. Okay. And then what do we got on trophies?
Champion, fancy, and reserve champion.
Okay. Okay, so we need to pick a best fancy, which all of these animals fit into the fancy category. None of these are the commercial or crossbred animals. And a reserve, and then an overall best in show. And this is pretty much how an ARBA youth or open show would run. We showed the classes pretty much the same: senior bucks, senior does, junior bucks, junior does, and then your commercials. You would have your intermediates, and then only your best of breeds come up at the very end for an overall best in show. But first, you have to bring up all your commercials and have your best in reserve commercial and your best in reserve fancy. So we fly by the commercial stuff and jump right into our fancy animals. Some very nice competitive animals here that are just, lacking maybe just a few color points here and there, or a little bit on their coats and markings. 100 points starts on every rabbit according to the standard, and just start in your mind kind of deducting as far as importance for that particular breed, because the breed standards are very different for all these various animals we have up here. So first of all, congratulations on showing some very nice animals today. Let's give our exhibitors a nice round of applause on a very nice job on your projects this year. And our best fancy for 2020 is going to go to our Rex, and our reserve fancy is going to go to our Jersey Woolly right here. So congratulations there, and again on your best of breed wins. And our overall best in show for the 2020 fair is going to go to our Rex. Very nice show, nicely done. And we'll have triple the numbers next year, hopefully.
If those friends want to take their rabbits and go over and have their picture taken, then we will be getting ready. Because I won't know.
We could place a class, actually. Okay, so for Bread and Own this year, what we're going to do is let everyone bring their exhibits up, and he's going to place them for us. Typically, we just take the ones that were up here for like the best in show if they were bred and owned. So if you have a bred and owned rabbit, and to make it maybe a little bit easier, we already know how they placed in class. So like Lydia, for example, she could bring up the ones that placed first in those classes. The same way with the Brinkman girls, you can bring up the ones that did. So bred and owned, if you know, for example, Carter had 2 in the same class. This one beat the other one. He does not need to bring the other one to the table. And then we'll go ahead and have Eric placed our bred and owned. Does that make sense?
Our grand champion fancy rabbit is Carter Faust. Our reserved grand champion fancy rabbit is Emma Wedeking. Our overall champion best of show is Carter Faust. Carter is also our senior this year in the rabbit show. Next year he will be attending Hawkeye Community College. Let's give Carter a round of applause for his last year as a participant in our 4-H show. The participants in this breed and owned class is Alexis Brinkman, Erica Brinkman, Joshua Brinkman, Carter Faust, Emma Wedeking, Mackenzie Boach, and Lydia Kluter.
Okay, this is one of the unique classes, not just unique to this fair. I do this in a couple other different counties, along with like does and litters and stuff like that. That there's costume contests, and just county to county, they come up with new and interesting classes all the time. This really shows a nice commitment and determination. You got to plan weeks, months in advance from when your fair is going to take place. Get on the calendar, figure out what breedings you want to do, what buck and doe together to show for your junior offspring for the summer fair. Then you keep your fingers crossed and hope Mother Nature cooperates without too much heat and humidity to break the coats or have the rabbits go off feed or anything like that. So again, a really nice example of animals up here. You should be commended on picking. Maybe these are the only animals you have, but even at the time of purchase, your original breeding stock is exemplifying some really nice offspring. So congratulations on your breeding programs for this year. Our champion, though, is going to go to our Broken Rex buck here, who won our overall best in show. He just really comes the closest to the Rex standard and all the breeds that we had up here. Some nice, very nice, promising Holland lops that are really going to mature and finish out with their coat and their color, where all those points lie. And same with our mini lops down here at this end. Reserve is going to go to our white Rex Doe here. She was the opposite of the breed, I believe, in the Rex breed, and just is going to be a super senior doe when she gets a little more maturity and finish on her. So congratulations, job well done.
Our champion bred and owned rabbit is Carter Faust. Our reserve champion is Lydia Kluter. We will be starting our showmanship classes. In just a moment, we will go seniors, intermediates, and juniors. Our intermediate class is 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. First, we're going to take a small break and do pictures. Our Best of Show banner is sponsored by the Faust family. We didn't do that. Oh, Faust family, I'm sorry. Our champion Fancy Rabbit Trophy was sponsored by Butler County 4-H. Our reserve champion Fancy Rabbit Trophy was sponsored by the Shell Rock Scoop. We are now ready for senior showmanship. Will those participants please bring their exhibit to the table?
Okay, and here's our senior champion. This is where you have the big round of applause. Very knowledgeable of his breed. He's raised these for a number of years and done even quite well, not just at local fair, state level, but at the national level as well too. And knew a lot about the rabbit's background, the parentage, and how well the parents showed. Also being best in show winners in their prime of showing. So congratulations in your college career ahead, and maybe you'll be a judge doing this someday. Keep after him, Mom and Dad.
Our winner is Carter Faust, Grand Champion Senior Showman. His trophy is sponsored by KLMJ KQCR Radio on the Go. Next, we'd like to call our intermediate showmanship class. Those are friends who have finished 7th grade, 8th grade, or 9th grade. Those of you interested in taking your exhibit to the state fair, here are a few state fair reminders. You need to have your rabbits ID'd online by July 1st. Entries have to be finished by July 10th. And this year, the state fair is a show and go similar to this show, where you will bring your rabbits in, and when the show is finished, you'll be taking them home. And that is the first Friday of the fair. The date is Friday, August 7th.
Okay, good grouping of intermediates up here. We were lacking a little male companions this time around, but maybe next year if there's any juniors that are getting up into that age category. But pretty knowledgeable. Wasn't able to stump them on a whole lot of general knowledge. You want to pick one of your best rabbits, whether it is the best one that placed or maybe is in the best condition, because we're not only judging you, we're judging the rabbit, and then we're also judging your handling ability. So train and get your rabbit accustomed to being rolled over, showing his teeth without taking your thumb and your index finger off, that kind of thing. So, and like he's relaxing right now because it is getting warm. So rabbits that are not living in air conditioning and then yanked out into the heat and humidity and aren't used to it. So get your rabbits acclimated to the temperature and pretty much the routine if they're not used to loud noises or anything that you'd come across like at your fair, people walking in through the building and stuff like that. So, okay, our overall champion is going to be our young lady right here. Couldn't stump her other than on texture. And our runner-up is going to be our owner of our Jersey Woolly right here, young lady. Congratulations, and we'll see you all next year, hopefully. Got to keep rabbits one more year. I always say that, one more year. I've been saying it for 50 years. I'm going to keep them one more year.
Our intermediate showman champion is Lydia Kluter. Her trophy is sponsored by Kenny Blocher Masonry. And our reserve champion intermediate showman rabbit exhibitor is Emma Wedeking. And her trophy is sponsored by Kluter Auto Repair. Our junior showman, would you please bring your exhibit to the table? Our junior showman. Any exhibitor that has a malt ticket, would you please make your way soon down to the malt stand to receive your malt? They will only be open for about a half hour after the show. So please use that malt ticket.
The best in the reserve again? Okay, 2 juniors here. Very knowledgeable again about their respective rabbits. We gave them a little handling techniques as far as checking teeth without, again, getting bit or nipped on or getting scratched. Covered toenails, all that kind of stuff. I kind of evaluated them throughout the whole fair as far as how they were carried properly and supporting the hindquarters, tucking that head underneath the arm to keep them from getting spooked on what they're seeing. So 2 pretty knowledgeable people here. This is going to be our our junior champion, and this will be our junior reserve this year. Yeah. You bet. Nice job. And you'll be back next year, right? Mm-hmm. All right.
Our champion junior rabbit showman is William Dykey. His trophy is sponsored by Kenny Blocher Masonry. Our reserve champion junior rabbit showman is Lily Sterling, and her trophy is sponsored by Kluter Auto Repair. Our last class is our costume class. We have 1 entry, and that is Joshua Brinkman.
Sure. Oh, he slipped a little bit out of his costume. But he matches. Did you have to sew that? Make the costume? Or did you have help? Had a little help. Okay. And, you know, if you do this next year, it would be really cool if you had a little football or a little fireman's helmet on the top of his head like you got. But just a miniature version. Do you know any firemen? You do? Your dad? Your dad's a fireman. Yay! We need those people. We need those essential workers. Every day, not just during COVID-19. This stuff. Okay, awesome. So I know where you got your idea from. Okay. I gotta look at the rest of your costume here. Okay. 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 You got any questions for me? No, no questions. Okay. We have a winner. Our essential worker fireman.
Thank you. Please give our judge one more round of applause. Our winner of the costume class was Joshua Brinkman. We will close our rabbit show with a few comments from our fair queen as soon as all the pictures are taken.
One other subject we wanted to cover, since a lot of us have been under quarantine these past few months, there's another virus going around that pertains not to humans, but to what we just got done showing. And whether you've read any of it on the internet, there's a lot of information on the ARBA website. ARBA is the American Rabbit Breeders Association. That's the RHD virus disease that is going around. It's actually a different mutation than one that we had here a few years earlier, and it wasn't near in the close proximity that it is now, because now it's mutated where it's taking over not only the domestic rabbit, you know, our pride and joy, but it's also hitting the wild animals, the wild rabbits, the hares and stuff that you see out in your yard, jackrabbits, you name it. It's really mutated, so it's a disease you have to take very seriously, much like, you know, COVID-19. If you do see any wild rabbits, or if any of your rabbits seem to not be acting themselves, and then it can happen within hours, the animal will be dead. It will die. And it's very contagious. It can very easily be spread just through as you're feeding. It can carry on your skin. It can carry on your clothing. It can carry on your shoes. Of course, rabbit to rabbit. The rabbit actually will hemorrhage, and that's what causes the death. He will bleed out. It's just something we really got to look out for countrywide. That's why they've put a lot of ban. A lot of shows have also canceled because of that, and a lot of the county fairs. It originated down in the hot climates of New Mexico and Arizona. It has since spread westward into California, Southern California. It's made its way into Nevada and Utah, parts of western Texas. I believe Oklahoma just had an outbreak that they put on the website. And there is a map also on that ARBA website that will tell you the entire locations. But so far, nothing into Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, our neighboring states. That doesn't mean it won't be, you know, in another month or two. It can be carried by birds. You know, how birds, owls, hawks, and stuff love, you know, they see a dead rabbit on the ground, they're going to, you know, that's a meal to them, or they'll take it, you know, take it back to the nest and feed their little ones. So then the bird droppings from those birds, when that falls, can have the virus in it. So it's something very, very careful to look out for. No vaccine for it yet at this time. There are some vaccines over in Europe that they're looking at, but nothing that's USDA been approved here in the States yet. So, you know, if you don't have to have your rabbitry opened up to visitors, so, you know, keep your rabbits quarantined at home the best you can. Thanks for bringing them today, because you have some excellent animals here today. But it's just something to definitely keep an eye on. And even if you find, you know, a dead one out in the wild or in your yard, you know, take it to your vet. It may end up going from that vet maybe down to Iowa State to the state vets down there, and then they'll confirm it. And those outbreaks have to be known and reported to the ARBA, because they will start shutting down the shows, and, you know, any kind of rabbit outbreaks like that, they have to put a halt to. Fairs and, you know, what have you. So shows of all kinds, workshops, you know, whatever involves rabbits. So just something to keep an eye on. So.
Well, thank you. Good job. Am I good? Good morning. Welcome back to the Rabbit Show. We just finished up with all the exhibitors. The judge did an amazing job. I unfortunately only saw half of it, so I'm sorry, but I was getting my hair done. I'm so excited for the pet show tomorrow, and stay tuned for the pet show tomorrow. And then, is it a what is that? The communication also today, right now. So tune in for that later. Thank